So proactively, just start thinking. And we're going to go into some details. How does that affect your executive world? Okay, access your stuff anytime, anywhere. It's a nice thought, but when you're going to a meeting in New York, and I use this example, I might have used it last year, and you're in the back of a cab and you need to get reporting that you don't have, you just look it up on the iPad, you go get it, and you're moving. It just becomes the way you operate. You're never without anything you need. Situational awareness with a phone, and I'm assuming most people have smartphones. At this point, you're used to getting your email on a phone. Everybody, you might expect people to get their email on the phone. But can you then respond? Information agility, that's your ability to respond once you become aware of information. Back to the situational awareness, your information comes from everywhere. Email, blogs, the internet, news, etc. It's hitting you from every angle, so you're constantly getting hit with information. Then you're digesting it, and what are you doing? You're either sharing it on social media, you're sharing it with your coworkers, your peers, etc. I've been at this conference the last 2 days. I don't miss a beat of what's going on back in the office. You know, we have a social collaboration tool, we use Yammer, so there's conversations going on. It's like I'm sitting in the office, and it just becomes the way we operate. So what's the value proposition? Everybody has to ask, well, why should I do this? And that's a tough question. Every discussion the last couple of days talked about change. Jeff talked today about the competitiveness of the accounting industry and what the skill sets are that are missing. And I think it's a valid point that people in public accounting, when they go into industry, there are gaps in their skill set. They're further along on the technical side, but they're behind on actually how do you accomplish a lot of the work, use the tools, etc. Decision analytics, data analysis, data mining. How many of the college students, do you guys have an IT, any of you have an IT background? Okay, what's becoming very popular is a mix of an accounting student with an IT background. And if you have that, you're going to write your own ticket. If you don't have that, just know that the IT and how to use the tools that are at your disposal is critical. So never stop learning that. When I first started down this road, I put together this list. I said, what motivates people to change? And for me, it's been a 2-year journey that's kind of like a psychology or MBA exercise. I always thought this would be the order. You know, if I can become more effective, I'm in. Or if I get an advantage, I'm moving. You know, I'll change the way I'm doing things if that works. Really, if my customers are starting to ask for it, I gotta get there. And if my competition's beating me to it, well, that's the last resort. I'm going. In reality, this is what I've seen. You tell somebody their competition's beating them to it, and they can't listen fast enough. You tell them that they can be more efficient, and they're like, yeah, whatever. You know, I'm doing things just fine. And it's a mindset that fascinates me because I just don't understand why we don't want to get that competitive advantage. I will start every meeting I have and say, if you could have a competitive advantage, would you want it? Yep, absolutely. If you could have a differentiator in what you do, would you want it? Yeah, no question. But you have to change. You have to rethink how you do things. We don't have time for that. Okay, that's reality. And to the young folks, the ones that are 5 years or less, challenge. You're going to get, and once you get into the workforce, what you're going to find is a lot of resistance from up top. Hey, just get it done. Just get it done. You got to constantly challenge and push to do things that people may not think are necessary, but you know that building your skill set is important. So what are some of the areas of opportunity? And I look at this and say, we're only going to hit on a few today, but when you start with the tablet or the smartphone, pretty much whatever you're doing in a desktop environment can be done here, with the exception of building complex spreadsheets, etc. And doing that, if that's possible, and you're always connected, what does that open up for you? I can get it information. I was talking about being on vacation. I got an email from our assistant, she didn't have a document that I needed to give her before I left. So while I was standing in line for a roller coaster, I was able to look on my phone, find the document on my computer at work. I don't know where it's at. I just found it. I did a search for it. I find it. I look at it. It's a PDF, and I email it to her. I turned to my son, and I said, what was that, like 2 minutes? While I'm standing in Tennessee at an amusement park. That kind of flexibility just changes everything. So these are the things that I think really, from a business standpoint, ought to motivate and are possible when you think about getting there. You know, differentiate your customer, drive new business. Retention, your clients are going to expect a different level of service. We had a CEO of a company, an example, where this woman operates on her BlackBerry. And I know that because I work with her, and that's fine. You know, when she sends you an email, she expects an email back pretty fast. Well, she sent an email to our tax partner, and he called and left her a voicemail. And that was at about 9 in the morning. She called me at noon, or emailed me at noon and said, I sent Tom an email this morning, but I haven't heard anything back. Can you follow up on this for me? She had to wait 4 hours to get to me because she doesn't listen to voicemail. He responded with voicemail. She sent you an email. She wants an email. So it's changing, and you need to be reacting to how people are adjusting their work style in the mobile environment. So who are your customers? If you're internal, it's your board, it's your senior management, it's other groups within your organization, external customers, your vendors, etc. Are you optimizing your deliverables to their preferences? I'm still shocked, and when I talk to public companies, they'll say, your board materials, how do you send that out? And we do a binder. Whew. Unbelievable. You know, a lot of people are shifting to the board portals, but just a PDF of board materials on the iPad, customized for the iPad, is a 2-year ago opportunity. So mobile marketing communications I talked about, and the ability to use the mobile content. So you as an executive or a professional, what can you do to leverage the digital capabilities? This is what I call the basic blocking and tackling. It's easy stuff, but it takes persistence and discipline. Digital readiness, cloud service opportunities. Commit to change shows up twice because that's the obstacle that'll stop a lot of people. And challenge the processes. Coming back to my point with Norm before last night, I said, when you think about how we do things for the conference, we have an opportunity to rethink it because of the way things are done. And I said, ask the obvious question, and I gave him a couple examples. So Norm came in this morning and he says, I was thinking about what you said. I noticed as we were sitting over here, he says, everybody comes in, they grab the aisle seats and the front row of all the seats. He says, it's like an airline. Everybody wants the aisle seat. He says, I'm going to charge extra for the aisle seats in the front row. So when Norm does that, you know where the idea came from. I'm not going to take the blame, but it's a great, obvious thought. Consider the cloud opportunities and challenge process. We'll go into that. Digital readiness. For everybody in here that creates work, I think understanding the PDF world is as important as knowing how to use Microsoft Office. So you new guys, know the PDFs. In 2003, when I was with Joanne, I went digital. I said, I'm not taking anything more electronically. So it's a little wrong for me to say how easy all this is because I was ready when the tablet came up. If you operate in a paper environment, it's going to be tough to get to the point where everything can be digital, but you got to start. So in 2003, we had a couple people that their task was to be the experts in Adobe PDF Writer, and that was it. And you had that expertise, and we knew who we could go to when we needed answers or needed things done. That was 9 years ago. So if you don't have that, get somebody, assign it to somebody that understands how to figure the stuff out and start down that road. We're not in Kansas anymore. Norm stole my line. We need to rethink the user experience, and internal processes must change. That's the biggest stopping point right there. Cloud services, I talked about Yammer, document access and sharing, information capture. How many people use Dropbox? Okay, interesting. It's a lot less than I would expect. Dropbox is a file synchronization service. I won't stand up here and tell any company, any executive that they need to use Dropbox because everybody has to get comfortable with security. But what I will say is we have clients that come to us and go, we're using Dropbox. So as a firm, we need to be able, obviously we got to understand how to use Dropbox. So the requests are coming. When I did the presentation to the law firm, they told me the same thing, which shocked me. They said, oh yeah, we got clients that are just saying our documents are in Dropbox. So there's a lot of activity in that space, but it's coming. That's how people are sharing documents. This is an example of my world. You know, this is my work computer. I have a couple tools that enable me to communicate. And just think of my phone and my tablet as the hub. All my information is accessible. Doesn't matter where I am. And that is really totally a game changer. I use password management as an example because this is a common problem for everybody. How many people keep their passwords on an Excel spreadsheet? Wow, less than I would think. How many keep it in a password safe? You know, where you, okay, good. If you have access to your passwords, typically it's in one place. Well, it's very easy, and what I do is just, it's on any device I have. If I put a password in my phone, it's on my desktop, it's on my tablet, because I'm using the cloud to synchronize everything. And it's not hard stuff. You just got to connect the dots, and all of a sudden I've solved the problem. So this is an example, and the reason I include it is, why are passwords so hard? Okay, fix it. And you just go down that road. So opportunities, content management's the biggest no-brainer. You know, if you have documents that you always want with you, reference materials, et cetera, content management using an app like Goodreader, et cetera, is the way to go. News management, we all have to keep up with news. I do probably an hour and a half a day, 45 minutes in the morning, 45 minutes at night, every day looking at news, and I never look at anything other than on the iPad. It's an information hub. Data capture. If you're doing data capture, and this is big when I talk to HR departments, if you're doing it, people are sending in documents or faxing in stuff, it can very easily be done through forms in the cloud. And obviously reporting and business intelligence. This was a slide I used last year, but just a bookshelf now looks like this. It's not a bookshelf sitting in your office. These are the news magazines that are the most popular. This is an example of an information hub. When I do conferences, and this is the Cleveland Engineering Society, I put this together to kind of harness all my content. You know, just, well, every one of these links, it then drills down into a bunch of other links. And all it is a hub. If I go into this tool, I'm just linking to whatever I need. I put this together. If you have an iPad, one of the most common questions I get is, what apps do I start with? What do I need? And you can read a million articles on the internet that'll give you this. These are my 10 from having done this, from talking with executives and worked on different situations over 2 years. And this is available if you send me an email, don@tomoff.com, I'll send this to you. It is again, a linked document. It'll go through, this is the App Store comments. That's a hyperlink. So if you had it on your iPad, or your phone, you'd click on that and it'll go right to the App Store, and you could download the app once you pay for it, if it's not free. Most of them are free. So commit to change. Our big line is it's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. It is discipline. You know, working out every day is easy. I don't think most of us do it. Things will be slower at first. This is probably one of the things I notice more than anything is I got to get this done right now. So it'll take me 15 minutes, but if I put in an hour, it'll be 5 minutes from every point going forward. We'll gravitate to the 15 minutes. I got to get it done now. Take the time, slow down. Get over that learning curve and keep ticking it forward. You will accumulate incremental changes that just are huge. As everybody was talking over the last couple of days about change, I couldn't believe that I had the good fortune to actually put this in here. Brian Solis, who's a social media guru, blogger, is a guy I follow. And when Mark Bielstein talked about, as an accountant, what do I need to be prepared for? Change. And I think one of the students asked, you know, am I learning all this stuff in school and it's going to be obsolete because of all the technology changes? Yes. All you're learning in school is how to learn. And that's never going to stop. In fact, with the rate of change, and I think anybody who's trying to keep up with this stuff would agree, it's getting out of control. It's almost impossible to keep up with what's going on. So how do you do it? Well, you pay attention to trends. If you were in school, your professors probably told you read the news. Read the news every day. I'm shocked when I talk to our young staff. We were talking about Apple, and the guy said, I didn't even realize that their stock had dropped over the last couple weeks, and then it went up $50 when they released earnings. I said, do you read the Wall Street every day? He goes, no. I go, read the Wall Street, read business news every day. Read technology trends every single day. However it is that you need to keep up, you just got to be aware of what's going on. We go into work, we put our head down, and 6 years later we come up for air and go, what happened? Ask the obvious questions. This is my favorite. How many of you said, I can't find a file? Or it's taken more than 10 minutes in a day to find a file? All right, I want to see 100 hands. Because that is the most common problem, yet it doesn't have to be that way. You can search your desktop just like you can search the internet. I don't care what a file's at when I search the internet. I got to figure out how to do that, you know, searching my desktop, but the tools are out there. How many do a search in Outlook and are completely amazed at how fast it is? Wow, that's amazing. Some people actually raise their hand. I can't believe, I go grab a cup of coffee. It's insane. But I have a desktop search tool that I can go to and in seconds search every email within Outlook, yet Outlook would still be chugging. Why is it necessary to store files in folders? Why do we think in a folder structure? Because we think in a paper environment. We don't have a way to do it. And I always tell people, I go, if you use iTunes, and I would assume everybody in here does, or at least 90%, you don't put things in folders. You tag it, and you find it. That's how it works. Well, that's how work should work. Why do I use Internet Explorer? How many use Internet Explorer? Wow, okay. There's opportunity. Is there a simpler approach to sharing everything through email? Yes, there is. The answer to all these is yes, by the way. And why aren't all my reference materials electronic? These are just obvious questions that in today's world, because of the digital environment we're in, you could fix every one of those. And Norm came up with the classic. He's going to generate more money for the conference because of his just prodding the thought of where people were sitting this morning. Some resources, again, if you want the presentation, we'll pass it along. I do an iPad newsletter, goes out every Friday. Won't go this Friday, it'll actually go tomorrow morning because I'm here. That blows my theory about doing everything wherever I'm at. I could, and that's it. And how'd I do on time, Nick?